Blessings, beautiful beings. Thank you so much for joining me today. To start for practice, any props that you might need would be some yoga blocks if you have them, or if you don't, any thick books like a textbook or anything like that, blankets, and a bolster or a pillow, anything like that. Again, they're completely optional. You don't have to use them, but it's up to you. So go ahead and grab those and we'll get started. So to start, come into a comfortable cross-legged seat. And again, you can use a blanket or a yoga bolster like I have here to sit on. That's going to bring your hips above your knees a little bit. You can just kind of fold your blanket in half. So just come, find your center, and we'll begin just grounding ourselves and getting ourselves ready for practice. So you can place your palms on the knees, facing up or down. It doesn't matter, completely up to you. Down is going to be more grounding. Up is going to be more in a receiving gesture. So come to whatever feels comfortable for you. And then slowly either soften your gaze or close the eyes. We're going to take a few moments here to focus on our breath before we get started. So take a nice big inhale. Feel that air moving down into your lungs, down into your belly as everything expands. And then exhale, everything retracting back in. Big breath in. And then exhale. You can either exhale out the nose or out the mouth, whatever feels comfortable for you. Now I'm going to go silent for just a few moments. Go ahead and focus on your own breath. Take nice big inhales that you feel down into your belly. And then exhale slowly and fully. You can set an intention for today's practice if you'd like. Think about what you want to accomplish in today's practice. Let go of the day thus far. Just really prepare to focus on you and just appreciating yourself for taking this time today to come to the mat and to practice. Things get really busy and hectic, and sometimes we put ourselves last and we don't listen to what our bodies need. So today we're just going to really listen to what our body needs and focus on that for just a little while. Go ahead and take one more big breath in. And go ahead and slowly exhale. When you're ready, you can go ahead and bat the eyelashes open. Bring your focus into the room around you. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So go ahead and come to a tabletop position. Again, if your knees are a little cranky, you can use a blanket underneath them to kind of pad your knees a little bit. You can also fold your mat in half and have a little bit more padding there. So make sure that your arms are underneath your shoulders. Come to a nice flat back. On an inhale, look forward, lower the lower ribs, tip your hips upwards, and we're going to come into a nice cow pose. Exhale. We're going to stay here for one breath. And on your next exhale, go ahead and tuck your head tuck your tail, round through those lower back ribs, and we're going to come into a cat pose. We're going to stay here for one breath. On your next inhale, go ahead and look forward, tip your hips forward, drop those lower ribs again, come back into a cat pose. We'll hold here for one breath. Just warming up the spine, getting it ready to move and bend and stretch today. On your next exhale, go ahead and tuck the head, tuck the tail, round through your spine, cat pose. You should feel a nice stretch in the back as that expands out. Go ahead and take a few more rounds on your own breath. So inhaling into a cat or into a cow, and then exhaling into a cat pose. Inhaling, dropping those lower ribs, raising up through the head. Cow. Exhale, tuck the head, tuck the tail, rounding the spine into a cat. We'll just do a couple more. On your next inhale, go ahead and return back to a tabletop position. Bring your big toes to touch, knees as wide as the mat. Look forward, and on your next exhale, shift your hips back towards your heels. You can walk the palms forward a little bit if you'd like, and then go ahead and lower your forehead to the floor. We're going to come into an extended child's pose. You feel a nice stretch through the back and through the lats. Remember to keep breathing. Listen to the sound of your breath. On your next inhale, look forward at your hands. Go ahead and shift forward, come back into your tabletop position. I'm going to go ahead and remove this blanket from my mat. I'm just going to set that aside. And then from your tabletop position, walk your fingers or your hands just one palm print ahead of where they were. Tuck your toes. Breathe in. And on your next exhale, just lift your knees up off the floor. It's a hovering tabletop. Inhale. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and straighten through the legs, shift the hips up and back. We're coming into our first downward facing dog for the day. So once you get here, you can walk the feet, just bending one knee and then the other as you straighten through the opposite. You should feel a nice calf stretch, just kind of warming up our legs a little bit. And then once you're ready, go ahead and bring that into stillness. Make sure in the hands that you're pushing through your thumb, your pointer finger, and your middle finger into the mat. And remember to breathe. Just let that head and neck go. You should feel a nice stretch through your hamstrings. On your next inhale, look forward and then go ahead and step your feet up towards the top of your mat, right behind your hands. Now if you have blocks, you can go ahead and grab them, and you can use them on the highest level, straightening your legs, coming into a forward fold. Make sure that your back is nice and straight. You can use it on a medium level also, or if it's in your practice, you can also bring your hands to the floor. If your hamstrings are really tight though, these blocks are nice to bring that floor up to you a little bit without having to strain, and you can keep your back nice and flat. You do want to keep a little bit of a bend in your knee. You don't want to lock them out. So go ahead and just breathe in this forward fold. You can can also bend your knees a little bit more. You can clasp your elbows and just kind of hang. So you have options, but we'll take just a couple breaths here. On your next inhale, go ahead and bend the knees, and then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll all the way up into a standing position, bringing your neck and head up last. Then once you're there, go ahead and just bring your palms, your hands to your sides. Make sure that you're really rooted into the ground. Take any movements. You can adjust your pants, your shirt, your hair, whatever you need to adjust. Make any little movements you need to, and then we're going to come into stillness. Close the eyelids and focus on the breath. Really feel your heels rooting into the ground. Feel that energy rising up through the front body and then returning to the earth down through your back body. Go ahead and open your eyes back up if you have them closed. And on an inhale, spread the arms wide, reach up to the sky. And on an exhale, go ahead and float it back down into your forward fold. Your next inhale, rise up halfway. You can bring your hands to your quads or to your shins. Just make sure your back is flat. And on an exhale, lower back down to your forward fold. Go ahead and bend your knees generously. Place your palms on the floor if they are not already. And then we're going to step our left foot back, keeping a bend in our right foot. Keep a lift in your chest, look forward, coming into a low lunge. This is where you can also use some blocks to bring the floor up to you if you need to, or if that feels better in your body. You can also lower that back knee down to the ground. So wherever you are, make sure to take just a few more breaths. And on your next inhale, go ahead and step your right leg back to meet your left leg, and we're going to come into our first plank pose for the day. So push back through the heels, make sure you're in a nice straight alignment. Shoulders over the wrists. You can also come to your knees if that feels better. Take one more breath. And on your next exhale, go ahead and lower slowly all the way to the floor and untuck your toes. Go ahead and place your hands underneath your shoulders. Look forward towards the floor. And on your next inhale, just peel the nose up, peel the forehead up, and look forward, coming into a little baby cobra. So it's a nice little back bend here. And breathe. Make sure that your shoulders aren't coming up towards your ears, so make sure to push your shoulders down, your back. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower your forehead to the floor. We're going to tuck the toes, and you can either push up to your knees and then extend your legs out into a plank pose, or you can power up through the hands and push yourself all the way up into your plank. Completely up to you. Take another couple breaths here. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and shift your hips up and back, coming back into our downward facing dog. We're going to take a couple breaths here, pull down just a little bit. On your next inhale, forward, and we're going to go ahead and walk it back up. Inhale, come up halfway, and on your next exhale, lower back to the floor. So we're coming back into our forward fold that we were in before. And again, just breathe. On your next inhale, slowly roll all the way back up. Bring the head up last. Roll your shoulders up, back and down, and then come into our mountain pose. So we'll take just a couple breaths here. You can also bring your hands to your chest in a namaste, if that feels right to you today. You can close your eyes. Just really focus on how both sides of your body feels, and focus on your breath. If your hands are in a prayer position, go ahead and lower them down to your sides. Open up your eyes if you had them closed, and on your next inhale, we're going to root to rise. So bring your hands up, down to the sides and up. Inhale, and on an exhale, go ahead and float it all the way back down to your mat. Coming back into a forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway with a flat back, and on an exhale, lower back down into your forward fold. On your next inhale, go ahead and step your right toes back, or whichever leg was opposite for you from the last time. We're going to repeat that same sequence on this side. Make sure that your left foot, or whatever foot is in front, is but at a 90-degree angle, and that you are pushing your knee out towards your pinky toe. You should be able to see your big toe. If we're coming into that low lunge, again, you can lower the knee or you can keep it lifted, whatever feels good for you today. Make sure your chest is nice and lifted. Go ahead and make sure your hands are planted firmly on the mat, and we're going to step our left toes back to meet our right toes, coming into a plank. Push back through those heels, look down, keep your neck in line with your spine, and breathe. One more breath. If you're shaking, that's okay. You can drop to your knees. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower all the way down to your belly. When you're ready, untuck your toes. You can lower your forehead to the mat if that feels good to you. Bring your palms underneath your shoulders. And on your next inhale, go ahead and peel your forehead and your nose up and look forward, coming into our baby cobra. If it's in your practice, you can press into those palms and you can come up higher into a full cobra. Make sure that your pelvis is still touching the ground. And then, again, your shoulders aren't coming up here and you're collapsing. Make sure you are pushing into the ground with your hands. You can also, you don't have to come up all the way. If that's too much strain on your lower back, you can lower down some. Go ahead on your next exhale, lower all the way down. Tuck your toes, press up into your plank. We're going to hold here for just a breath. And on your next exhale, lift the hips, push into the hands. We're going to come back into our downward facing dog. Again, you can walk your dog for a little more stretch in your calves, or you can bring it to stillness. Really feel that nice stretch in the back body. Your heels do not have to touch the floor. They can be up like mine are. You want to make sure that you just have a lot of length through your body. Your next inhale, look forward, and then we're going to make our way back up to the top of the mat. On an inhale, come up halfway, and on your next exhale, go ahead and lower back to the floor. That forward fold. Relax your neck and your head and your face, and just breathe. On your next inhale, go ahead and roll all the way up slowly, or as slow as you can, bringing the head and neck up last. We're going to come back into our mountain pose. Go ahead and just take a couple breaths here. On your next inhale, go ahead and raise your arms up overhead. So we're going to come into a mountain pose. I'm going to come down to my knees. You guys stay standing, stay rooted with your hands up. On an inhale, go ahead and grab your left wrist with your right hand and extend it up. And on an exhale, go ahead and bend to the side. Cross that midline and come over towards the right. You should feel a nice big stretch in the left side. And remember to keep breathing. Your next inhale, come back to center. And on an exhale, release the hands. Take a breath here, compare both sides. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and grab your right wrist with your left hand. And extend it up. And on the exhale, cross that midline, lean over to the left. Feel a nice stretch in the right side body. And breathe. On your next inhale, come back to center. Release the arm, stretch forward. And then on an exhale, I'm going to move. Go ahead and float all the way back down, coming down into that forward fold again. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, release. And take just a couple breaths here. On your next inhale, we're going to step the left legs back and then step your right leg back. We're going to come into a plank again. Breathe. And then on your next exhale, lower all the way back down to the mat. Slowly, make sure you're not belly flopping. On your next inhale, peel your nose all the way up. Look forward, press into the hands, rise up into a cobra. Or if it's in your practice, you can lift your hips up and come into an upward facing dog, pressing into the tops of those feet. And breathe. Wherever you're at, if you're in a cobra or an upward facing dog or a baby cobra, go ahead and tuck your toes, lift the knees up, and then shift your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. We're going to take a couple breaths here. One more breath. On your next inhale, make sure that you are really supported by your right foot. And we're going to raise our left leg up. Keep your toes pointing down towards the floor. And on an exhale, bend that knee in towards your chest. Shift forward, look forward, and then plant that left foot in between your palms. We're going to come back into our lunge. Look forward and breathe again. You can bring your blocks to bring the floor up to you if needed. Make sure that front leg is at a 90-degree angle, and again, step your right leg in just a little bit, or your back foot in. Keep it turned out. And on your next inhale, lift the torso forward. We're going to come into a warrior one. So it's really important to make sure that you're not on a tightrope like this, so where you can't see like both your feet. Make sure you're more on like a parallel train track. Keep that front knee bent, still at a 90-degree angle, and then make sure that your hips are turned forward. So I'm going to be at the short end of my mat here in this warrior one. And you can either keep your arms at your sides, you can keep them in a namaste at your chest, or you can lift your fingers up towards the sky. Thumbs pointing back, pinkies pointing forward. If you have your arms extended, make sure that they're not coming up to your ears. Make sure that you are keeping your shoulder blades back and down, and that your shoulders aren't creeping up. And breathe. From here, lower the arms down, and this is just an option. You don't have to do this, but it's up to you. Listen to your body. Go ahead and bring your right arm underneath your left arm, and then you can cross them and come into what's called eagle arms. If that's not working for you today, you can also clasp opposite elbows here, or you can keep your arms up extended overhead. It's just a little bit of an added challenge. If you're in eagle arms, make sure to press those elbows up. Shift onto the ball mound of your back leg, so we're going to come into a high lunge. And I'm going to scoot around here so you can see me. From here, go ahead and step it forward. If you need to touch down, you can. Otherwise, lift your knee up. We're going to come into a one-legged Tadasana, so a one-legged mountain pose. And we're going to breathe here. Find something to focus on. If your arms are not eagle, you can have your arms anywhere at your chest, at your sides, but make sure to focus on an object that's not moving. If you want a little bit more, you can bend through that standing knee a little bit, so my left knee, and you can cross that right knee over, and you can come to wrap that top leg around the bottom leg and come into a full eagle. And I'm moving. Or you can just cross it. Go to whatever feels right in your body today. If it's here, if you need to touch your foot down and just come into a mountain pose, that's okay too. Do whatever feels right in your body. Once you are ready though, go ahead and bring your leg down. Release your arms, and we're going to come back into our mountain pose. This time, if you haven't before, make sure to close your eyes. Take any little movements you need. My pants keep rolling down, so I'm going to pull up my pants so I don't give everyone a show here. And go ahead and roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Bring the eyelids closed if they're not already. And then just be still. Compare both sides of your body. See how you feel today. Ready? Go ahead and bat your eyelashes open. Come back to the room around you. And then we're going to repeat that again on the other side. So go ahead, take a big breath in, sweep the arms to the sides and up. We're going to come into that nice volcano pose again. I'm going to lower down so you can see me. You guys do not have to do this on your knees, so you can just stay standing. On an inhale, reach up. On an exhale, take your left hand, grab your right wrist. And on an exhale, bend towards the left. Coming into a nice side bend. Feel that opening and that expansiveness on the right side through the ribs, through the lungs as you breathe. And on your next inhale, come back to center, release your arms, stretch upwards. Just take a breath or two here and compare your two sides. See how you feel on both. On your next inhale, extend the arms up. Take the right hand, encircle your left wrist. And on the exhale, lean towards the right, feeling that nice stretch and expansiveness in the left side body. Keep breathing. And on your next inhale, release the arms, stretch forward, and on an exhale, lower down. We're going to dive back down into our forward fold. Inhale, look forward, come up halfway with a straight back. Exhale, lower back down. And breathe. Again, your knees can be more bent if needed today, or try and straighten them, but don't block them out. You should be feeling a nice hamstring stretch. Next inhale, look forward. Go ahead and step one foot back and then the other foot back. We're going to come into another plank again. Breathe. When you're ready, look forward, shift forward, and then lower down to the belly. Again, you can drop your knees and lower down, or you can just lower down. Bring the head to rest on the mat. And on an inhale, press into the hands, come up into your baby cobra, or you can come up into your upward facing dog. When you're ready, go ahead and tuck your toes under, and we're going to shift back and come into our downward facing dog. Breathe. And someone is home, so I apologize for the noise. You're ready, look forward. All right, now we're going to repeat that full sequence on the other side. So when you're ready, lift your right leg up. And on an exhale, bend your knee, shift forward, step the foot in between your hands, and we're going to come into that lunge again. We got Fritz here, and Franco and Sam. If you have your dogs, go ahead and pet them. They're all going to go outside now. Keep breathing. And then when you're ready, we're going to step that back leg in a little bit. Make sure your toes are pointed out. Make sure you're not on that tightrope, that you're on those parallel lines. And we're going to come into our warrior one again. With your front knee bent, make sure that that knee is pointing again towards your pinky toe and you can see your big toe. Make sure your hips are pointing towards that short end of the mat. Keep lengthen your spine. Hands can be at your waist, chest, or they can be up overhead. Just make sure that you're not giving yourself some earmuffs with your shoulders. And breathe. If you want to, you can come back into your eagle arms while you're here. So bring that opposite, I think it was my right arm underneath, so bring your left arm underneath your right arm at the elbow, and then you can cross. And make sure to press into your elbow. There. Gotta get my feet situated again. Make sure to keep breathing. And we're
wherever you're at, spin on your back foot, come up to that ball mound of your foot that's in the back. So we're coming into a nice high lunge. And when you're ready, shift forward, and then you can bring that back leg into your standing one-legged Tadasana. Again, you can leave your foot on the floor here. You can lift it halfway up, or you can bend your standing leg. You can wrap that leg around your bottom leg. Make sure that you're staying focused on something that's not moving. Breathe. If you fall out of it, that's okay. Just restart over. You can keep going. Wherever you're at, go ahead and lower that leg. Release your arms. Bring them to your side. Close the eyes for just a moment. We'll take a rest here in our mountain pose. Compare both sides. Feel that flush of energy move through your body. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Swing the arms down to the sides, bring them up, and on an exhale, go ahead and fold back into your forward fold. On an inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, lower back down. Take just one breath here. When you're ready, step one foot back, step the other foot back. We're coming into our very last plank pose. One more breath here. And on your next exhale, go ahead and lower all the way down to the floor. On your next inhale, push your fingers and your palms into the floor. Raise up into your baby cobra, cobra, or upward facing dog. And on an exhale, go ahead and lower back down. Push yourself into your tabletop position. Again, bring your big toes to touch, knees as wide as the mat. And then shift your hips back and come into your extended child's pose. So we're going to cool it down just a little bit before we end. Make sure to keep breathing. When you're ready, look forward. We're going to shift forward, come back into our tabletop position. We are going to open up the hips just a little bit. So when you're ready, extend your left foot out and just flex back and forth a little bit. So we're kind of warming up our calf muscle here. Go ahead and bring that to stillness. Now when you're ready, bend that knee forward, and we're going to place that knee in between our palms, and then walk your right foot back, and then you can come to sit. So I'm going to spin around here so you can see me. We're coming into a pigeon pose. You can also bring a blanket to sit on to lift your hip up if you need it. This may not feel great on everybody. And your front leg does not, you can work to bring it to parallel, but that's not going to feel good in everyone's body. So you can also have that foot kind of bent in more towards your hip that is down close, that should be down on the ground. From here you can lift up. You can also bring blocks to lift you up. I'm going to spin back around here. So you can stay here. Or if it's in your practice, you can walk your hands forward as far as they'll go, and you can also just bring your forehead to the ground. You should feel a nice opening through your hip, and just breathe. extended forward, go ahead and walk your hands back and come up. Tuck your back toes under, and then we're going to shift back into our tabletop position again. From here, just breathe, see how both sides feel. And then when you're ready, extend your right leg out, or whichever leg was not out the last time. Shift forward, shift back, kind of warm up through that calf a little bit. And then when you're ready, lift that leg up off the ground, bend the knee in, and bring it forward in between your hands. Walk that left leg back, and then come up to the top of the foot to our flying pigeon pose. Again, if your hip is not reaching the ground, bring a blanket underneath that bent leg, and that'll help to raise it up and stabilize a little bit more. On your next exhale, if you want to lower down to the floor, if that's in your practice, feel free to go ahead and do that. Make sure to keep breathing and really focus on how nice that feels with that opening in the hip. We sit down a lot during the day, or if you sit down a lot during the day, those hips can get really tight, and this really helps to keep them open. Once you've had enough of that, go ahead and walk your hands back up, come back up into your pigeon, and then tuck your toes from your back foot to my left foot, lift the knee, and then go ahead and shift back into our tabletop. From here, cross your ankles, walk your hands all the way back and come to a seated position. And then from here, you can extend your legs out, and we're going to come to lie on our back. So we're going to move into our final pose, which is Shavasana, corpse pose. So make sure you're comfy. If you have blankets or a bolster, you can bring that underneath your knees or your hips to elevate them a little bit. But go ahead and lay down on your back. If it doesn't feel great to you to lay flat, you can also bring your feet to the floor and keep them bent. You can place your palms on the ground, down, facing up or pinky side of the floor. Make any final adjustments you need to feel comfortable. And then once you're ready, close down the eyes and focus on the breath. I'm going to quit talking for just a moment to let you focus on your breath and just relaxing. I will keep watch of the time for you. Keep focusing on the breath. So for those of you that have done my practices before, you know I always pull a card for the practice, just kind of as a theme and just something to keep in mind to end with. And today I pulled Turkey Spirit. And its message is give with gratitude and grace. And this actually, I pulled it in the upside down form, so that actually gives us a protection message. So keep breathing. I'm just going to read what this says.
Are you giving in order to receive in kind, keeping tally of how much you have given and what is owed you? This is not the way to experience abundance. When turkey spirit is in the protection position, it is a reminder to let go of any perceptions of scarcity or fear that if you give too much, you will not have enough for yourself. Use your spiritual practices to reconnect with spirit and remember how it feels to embody abundance. And you will give as much as is needed right now. Know that whatever you need to fill your stores is coming to you right now. Love, prosperity, knowledge, and assistance from allies who are everywhere and want you to be the abundance you seek. Turkey Spirit is here to tell you that everything evens out when you are aligned with the law of abundance as Spirit wants you to be. Abundance is yours. If you are able to stay in Shavasana for longer, feel free to stay as long as you are able to. If you need to go, then we'll go ahead and start to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes and start to come back into your body. Go ahead and roll over to your favorite side. Come into a little fetal position so your knees can be kind of balled up and you can use your whatever arm is at the bottom as kind of a pillow. Just take a couple breaths there. When you're ready, go ahead and press that top arm into the floor, raise up and come back into a seated position, bringing the head and neck up last. You can bring your arms to your chest in a prayer position, and whenever you're ready, you can open up your eyes. Thank you so much for spending your time and your energy with me today. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and week. Namaste.